Welcome to E Squared Emporium for all things AP Psychology. Today we will be looking at the neuron. Part 2, the neuron. So part 1 was about the brain and the spinal cord and how that makes up the central nervous system. Now we're looking at the neurons that are in the central nervous system. There are 100 billion neurons in the brain. We are also finding huge clusters of neurons in the stomach and around the heart, but that is not the focus of today's subject. So neurons are the basic cell of the nervous system. When they are electrically excited, it's electrochemical, they transmit signals very quickly through the body. Neurons have dendrites, that's the tree-like, tree branch-looking things at the top of the neuron. They receive the signals, and then the axon is the long, thin, whip-like part of the neuron, which sends the signals out to the end to the terminal branches. It is like a phone line or an internet cable before everything was wireless. So there's 3 types of neurons we're going to study. Sensory neurons, also called afferent neurons, and you have to know both names for them. Motor neurons, which are also called efferent neurons. And interneurons, which are also known as association neurons, and they make up 99% of the neurons in the body. We're going to go through these one at a time and break them down. So sensory neurons, or afferent neurons, they pick up information from the senses. That's easy to remember because they're sensory and they go to the senses. So from the body to the brain through the central nervous system, sight, touch, pain, all of the things that we would sense. Uptake from the senses, ears, eyes, nose, mouth, skin, etc. So hand on the hot stove, sensory neurons are going to bring that message very quickly up to the brain to have us move our hand. Or when the couch drops on you. Hopefully we're going to have sensory neurons tell us immediately that that is painful. Motor neurons go to the motor muscle movement of our body. They're called efferent, and I remember that because it takes effort, right? It takes effort to use your motor neurons. So it takes information from the spinal cord to the muscles or the glands. It's the output from the brain back to the body. It causes our muscles to move. It's going to cause us to pull our hand away from the hot stove or to lift the heavy couch off of our body. How do we remember that? If you write the word same, S-A-M-E, same. Sensory neurons are also afferent neurons. Motor neurons are also efferent neurons, and that will help you remember. So again, motor neurons move towards muscle. Efferent neurons are exiting the spinal cord. That might also help you to remember. Now, interneurons, we haven't talked about them yet. They're association neurons. Think of words that use the SAT Latin prefix there, inter. International, internet, interconnected, intergalactic. They are constantly connecting or associating. So these are our networking neurons. They connect neurons to all the other neurons in the central nervous system. They carry messages from one neuron to the other. 99% of all of our neurons are interneurons, and each neuron connects to 7,000 other neurons through these interneurons. Another way to look at it, they act as the middleman between other neurons. Think about that kid who passes notes in class between two people, right? It goes afferent neuron to interneuron to efferent neuron. And then it goes back from efferent neuron to interneuron to afferent neuron. So this is the note passer in between. And again, interconnected neurons, as I said, make up the majority of what we see in the nervous system of the central nervous system. So did you know that all of your thoughts and all of your memories, now memories we call engrams, but they're actually just neurons. They're just neural connections. This is how we can change our thoughts. This is how we can help with our memories, with painful memories and things like PTSD. And this is what cognitive therapy tries to do. It tries to help change the neural pathways. And this is what drugs like Prozac do. They're trying to help with the neural connection. So let's see how this works. So I think about chocolate chip cookies, and I have a pathway that forms to grandma, because grandma made really wonderful chocolate chip cookies. So every time I smell chocolate chip cookies, it makes me think of grandma. Whether I know it or not, whether it's conscious or not, that is a neural pathway. Maybe when it's raining outside, then I have a neural pathway to feeling sad. Maybe I have sad memories about a rainy day, or the rain just makes me sad. And so I have a neural pathway that leads to sadness. And so it's interesting that this is why neurons are important in psychology, because it's all of our thoughts, it's all of our memories, it makes up everything of who we are. We don't have to memorize all the parts of the neuron any longer. I'm going to go through them really, really quickly with you, but you do not have to memorize them anymore. So we start with the soma. It's basically the cell body. It's a life support center for the basic neuron. And inside that, we're going to keep our DNA. Now, the outer edges that look like tree branches, those are called the dendrites. The dendrites, we're going to talk about how they activate the neuron. And inside there, inside the nucleus, that's our DNA. We want to protect our DNA. So anytime we have an electrical impulse, it can only go one way, so it doesn't go back and zap our DNA. It's very important. So you see that little trap door there? That's called the axon hillock. It's a trap door. It's a one-way door. That's how we protect the DNA so that the electrical charge can only go one way out and it can't come back. It's like how a surge protector protects our computer. The big long line, like a big long worm, that's called the axon. That's actually how the electricity travels, and it's protected in a myelin sheath that we'll talk more about, which is insulation, and it speeds it up. It's kind of like the really thick electrical cord that you can use with your high-end technology, or if you use an outside electrical cord, it has to be thicker than an inside electrical cord. That's what the myelin sheath is like. Right? And then our terminal branches, that's the end. The end is the terminal branches. When you come to the end of an airport or a bus terminal, an airport terminal, that's the end. You're at the end. That's where all of our neurotransmitters are going to be stored. They get picked up and dropped off through the terminal branches, and we'll discuss that another day. And this is the direction. It has to just go one way. So we protect the nucleus, we protect our DNA. It only travels one way in and one way out. So just an interesting fun fact about the axon. Most axons can be 1 to 2 inches long in your body, but they can be up to 3 feet long. So just think about that for a second, that in your body, you could have a 3 foot long axon running through your body. The glial cells are insulators. They connect one axon to another. It's kind of like you can jump that whole process. You can cut right across that whole process. And so you can, instead of going all the way down the axon and then releasing and then back again, you just simply, it's a shortcut right across it. So it shortcuts the whole process. It also is a form of insulation. We'll look at that in class, but it's definitely there to make our information, the transmission of information goes much faster when it can jump through glial cells. We're going to talk more in class about mirror neurons. It's very new, very cool. We've been studying them since the 90s. Basically, we learn by imitating and observing others. So when somebody opens up a soda and you hear that soda can, kind of makes you thirsty, right? Or when you see them drinking water, it kind of makes you thirsty. When you see them drinking a hot drink, you kind of want one. Well, that's mirror neurons. So we think that they play a vital role in empathy and how we learn. We've noticed that your mirror neuron will fire when somebody else's neurons are firing. And that includes sports, TV shows, movies, yawning, smiling, eating. We first noticed this with animals. Again, we will look at the original studies in class. So seeing somebody doing something and doing it ourselves are exactly the same thing in the brain, and that's kind of amazing. So did you know that multiple sclerosis, MS, is actually when our immune system attacks the myelin protection around the neuron? So I just showed you the axon, and I just showed you the insulation, the myelin sheath protecting it. That's what multiple sclerosis is. It's actually a breakdown, and we expose the nerve fiber in the axon. So it's actually a problem in the neurons, in the exposed nerve fiber. And it's very painful. It can cause tingling, numbness, pain. We're going to see some videos about multiple sclerosis in class. Another disorder we're going to look at in class Myasthenia gravis. It's an autoimmune disorder. The immune system basically makes antibodies that will block or destroy the muscle receptor sites. We're going to learn about a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. You can just say ACH. ACH is the abbreviation for acetylcholine. So the fewer receptor sites that you have available, your muscles will receive fewer nerve signals, and it makes you very tired and it makes you very weak. So again, it's the body attacking itself. The body thinks it's doing the right thing, but it's actually hurting you. All right, and now you're ready for part three. Very short, part three, how neurons communicate.